Welcome to Jollof and Fiction, home of African literature and stories, the kind that warm your hearts like a fresh pot of jollof. Today, you're tuning into a recorded session of our online book discussion, so sit back, relax, and join the conversation.
To today's review of There Are Cathedrals. Personally, I feel like that was a befitting title for the book. It was a befitting title for the book because in all of all the essays that were in that book, it conveyed the most meaning for some reason. So if I'm being honest, I read that book yesterday and it was, I don't know, that book evoked feelings in me. I don't know how to explain it. It wasn't immediately, it was just like progressive. I don't know, it was just a progressive thing. It was like you had to like be in the book and like feel the book, and I don't know, it felt so good. And there were certain stories that were, I don't know how to explain it. It was an all-encompassing warmth. I don't know, that's like the vibe I got from the book. I mean, there were a few stories I struggled through, but generally I felt really warm from that book. So, since it was a very short read, I feel like the questions I have will be, have spanned across all the books. And I don't know why we are so few today. I don't know why Olivia is not here. But the questions I have spanned across like all the titles, and I guess it's something we can discuss and like, enjoy. All right, guys, let's like get into it. So, the first chapter of the book, let me open my notes because I made like a lot of notes. I saw a couple of you say you took like a lot of screenshots. I myself made a lot of notes. Okay, so like the first topic, green. I don't know if it was just me, but when I read the book, I was reminded strongly, like very strongly, when I read that specific essay, I was reminded very strongly of a children's book that I loved when I was in, when I was like 7. Like I was catapulted all the way back to 2008. It was like, it felt so good. So I want to know if I'm the only one who had this feeling from reading this book. The floor is open. Anybody wants to speak? All right, Barnabas, you can go.
All right, thank you, Moku, for the opportunity. I think before I recommended the book, I had to first go through the stories to see if they'll be worth our time. And so, like you mentioned, Green was the first story, and I was like, what kind of title is this? I was expecting something very mid, but then I read it was soft. And like you said, you don't immediately feel the intensity of the story. But you sense a kind of building to the parts where you actually break down in the middle of the story. You have to take a pause. And I like the fact that particular, it did not remind me of childhood, like you mentioned, but it brought so many things to mind. How in the simplest of things, you can have the greatest of emotions. You get? She mentioned how a quote from a particular book stirred up the whole story. And do you understand? Something so simple made something that big, and I was in awe of the simplicity. Like, it was just so simple, it brought me to tears. This book has made me realize that it's not really about the number of pages, but the depth of each paragraph. Do you get? I was telling Olivia about how I had to stop at some point, not just for the first story, there's another story. I had to stop at some point to cry. It was that intense. It was not the first story, other stories. And I think it was a build-up. So each story was preparing you for the next, even though they were not connected in a way. You were just not seeing the emotion until one time you just break down. And I took so many screenshots, so many. Even before now, I had to just go through them again before this meeting. So that's it. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Barnabas. Oh my God, I just want to say that the reason why I was transported to my childhood because of that, like through that essay, was because there was a place where she mentioned that good things often come from the most unassuming of things. And it's very true, because that point in my life was a very, I don't know, it was a very weird time in my life. But yeah, so I could like totally understand what she was saying. All right, Jennifer, let's have you.
Okay, I definitely agree with everything everyone has said. This book really, it was a very strange read because when reading it the first time, you might not necessarily feel it. It's like, I started reading this the night it was dropped, and maybe because I was very tired that night, so I thought I found it boring. But at the same time, it wasn't like boring. It was more like a feel good. You know when you're watching a movie, not because it's interesting, but just because you feel good when watching. That was the feeling I got from that first story. It was just a feel good. And there's some things that triggered some memories, like the word Mallorca. It triggered a memory of.
Hello, you're still tuned into the live review session by Jollof and Fiction of the book There Are Cathedrals. Considering this was an online session that was recorded live, there were certain intervals where network interruptions occurred. And so the next segment we're about to discuss focuses on the things we learned from the book and how we can implement them in our lives. Stay tuned. You read the same poems you read 10 years ago and you don't just find newer meanings to it. And then when she mentioned that she often writes text on the book and certain paragraphs, I realized that what that could mean to you. Years from then, you'd come back and read that paragraph and see how much you have grown from that time you read that. And that's I feel that's the way one of the ways you can track growth, and not just physical growth, but mental growth, emotional growth, and something like that. So it helps. And I think it's something I'll be doing. But I read a lot of e-books actually, so I'm not sure I can do that. The highest I can do with these e-books is to highlight. But if I ever have a hard copy, I'll do that.
All right, thank you very much, Navas. My mommy does that a lot. We have on her Bible, so she has like notes, sticky notes on her Bible where she writes the date of some, like maybe she read a passage, she would write it down, how she felt, write the date. And then what I used to do for my hard copy is that a specific line that's like stood out to me, I would write it at the front page. So most of my hard copy books have that, like the front page with the dates. It's like I didn't realize that was even a thing. I just copied it from my mom. Anyways, moving on. The second story, let me not lie, I struggled with it. I really at the end of the story, I could see where she was going to, but I couldn't see where she was going to at the beginning. It felt a little redundant for me. It felt quite redundant because she was skirting around things, but when she eventually spoke about how places to her is not about the buildings but about the memories and the things, that really stayed with me. Because I think I've said this before, whenever I think of a place, I think of the fragrances, I think of the conversations, I think of the aromas, I think of the embarrassing moments, I think of the tears, I think of the people more than I think of the place. I don't know, but let me hear what you guys have to say about the second essay. How did you guys feel? What did you feel about the second essay? Taylor, could you speak? Thank you.
My hand was not used.
Okay, Jennifer, you can go.
Okay, I think it just goes back to the feeling this book gives, because I started the story and I was like, oh my god, I'm definitely going to fall asleep in this one. And then it gets to the point where she says, with your presence, you can make any place an altar. Let me see if I can quote exactly how she said it. Your presence can make any place an altar, and talking about how your places are void until it's filled with kisses, people, memories, and the rest. And I was like, oh my god, because I recently would I call it graduation now? Because I just finished my exams. I just defended and signed out, and then I moved to Enugu. I stay in Lagos. I school in Nsukka, and then I moved to Enugu. And the first week of work, I cried so many times. I would go to the toilet and I would just cry. And in my mind, I used to think I hated Nsukka. I used to think I hated UNN. But when I left, I realized I really missed the people. I missed the memories. It was not about the place, like the geographical place of Suka. It was the people I met there, the memories, the friends I left, so many things. So yeah, it brought back a lot of memories, and I guess it just showed the part of me that I haven't really come to sort out yet since I moved. And I just want just this month, so a couple of weeks ago. So yeah, so seeing that I was like, oh yeah, this is why I feel so sad. This is why, because I don't necessarily miss Nsukka. I miss the memories and the people and everything that it represented.
Thank you so much, Jennifer. I genuinely hope that where you are, you find new people to feel it for you, because it's very essential. Moving is hard. Okay, Barnabas, let's hear from you.
Okay, it's almost as though Jennifer and I have same experience reading this, because I feel the same way about Nsukka. If you ask me about Nsukka, I don't really like Nsukka. I keep telling people I don't like Nsukka, and I feel it's been hyped because the University of Nigeria is there. You get, but I look back and I realize I love the place, not because of the place, but the people. And you get, and because the place is like a student environment, everything is passive. People come, they spend 4 years and they are gone. But for me, where I sort of work there now, because after school I got a job there, I look back and I can't find the people that I spent those 4 years with. So in a place like that, you are teaching your heart to not hold on to things, knowing very well that people always come and go. So it's a good thing, it's also a bad thing. You can't lay hold to people and say, okay, I know we'd always be here for you, because I mean, that is a school environment. Nobody, in fact, if you ask, I feel 90% of people that are there in school, they don't come from Suka. So they're always coming and they are going, and in the end, well, I do miss Suka. It's interesting because I see this in Suka and I miss Suka. So you can get the paradox. So you get that I'm in the place, but I miss the people that were in the place. That's why I'm in the place, but I'm still missing the place. I don't know if you understand what I mean. And like I said, this book, every story is brings a lot to mind, really. What Jennifer said, that how someone can make a place an altar. It's just I would permit me to use the word aura, or the being of the person. Just being there alone makes a place memorable. It's not really a place itself, but people. I think this book makes you value people, relationships, hugs, and several things. I believe you're getting there, but it just brings a lot of things to mind, things that you will not normally pay attention to.
All right, thank you very much, Barnabas. That was a very good analysis of what this book felt like. Okay, so this is what I've been dying to talk about. I just want to talk about the correlation between There Are Cathedrals and Are There Cathedrals. Oh my god, those two stories following each other were the best parts of this book, because honestly, coming from somebody who struggles with seeing and moving to somebody who has learned to see, learned to appreciate you guys, because that was a very perfect follow-up. I don't know, it felt very satisfactory, because when I read the Cathedrals, I felt slightly depressed, because something occurred to me, it's very easy for you, it's very weird for you to tell a depressed person to stop being depressed. You get, they cannot be depressed, and a part of me almost resented this girl for not seeing the beauty in things. But she's right. How do you want to see the beauty in things? In this economy that we live in this life that is crumbling as you take a breath. And then we now move to the next story, and it just feels like flowers and gardens and roses, and oh my god, it's actually hope. It felt so good. This is how I felt. So let me hear from you guys. I feel like this book is mainly talking about touching grass. I don't know if it feels like that for you guys. Does anyone have want to say something? Barnabas, you can speak.
people hear me?
We can hear you now.
Okay, all right, okay, thank you. So I think the best, I can't really, there's a lot to say about it, but I'll just read my favorite captions from each story, and then you you'd contrast and notice how the emotion had shifted. So from the first one, There Are Cathedrals, I highlighted something. I'll just read it. I think it's just human nature to persist in spite of insurmountable odds. The background story is, I think the person has been trying to commit suicide. He said he attempted suicide like 3 times or thereabout, twice. And so this is the last paragraph where he says, I think it's just human nature to persist in spite of insurmountable odds. After all, you're not really trying to kill yourself, but the thing inside you. So as I previously said, I am not too sure there are cathedrals everywhere for those who have eyes to see. Perhaps the reason that I haven't seen any cathedral is because they don't exist yet. I believe that we must build cathedrals for ourselves, others, those who come behind us, those who never saw them, and those who should have built them in the first place. My God. And that was the last paragraph. As I read that part, I just held myself and like, my goodness, what am I reading? Then let me read from the next story. The next story that says, as writers, are there cathedrals everywhere? I just took out some points. Now let me read it to you. It became clear how, when you have been an ardent customer of hardship, the seemingly mundane can appear as luxury. This experience made me reflect on other small luxuries many take for granted. A comfortable bed, a hot meal, a quiet space to read. These are all things that can seem insignificant until you've gone without them. And that is really true. That's how you get so used to suffering that when basic things come, like normally it's like in this country where we are now, you cannot, when you experience 24 hours power supply, you're already concerned that NEPA is coming the next day to cut your light. That's why they're giving you 24 hours power supply. But it's not supposed to be so. It's because your mind has been so used to irregularities, hardship, so much that basic things like constant light and constant water now gets you concerned. It's not a problem. And I feel this book is just so much, just covers everything that's going on in this country at several times, the past, present, and future. I don't want to talk else, do as I hijack this review, but this book was really for me.
Thank you so much, Barnabas. Jennifer, we can hear, we can take you now.
Oh my God, okay, so these two chapters are like very close representations of 2 phases of my life. And it was at this point, like this chapter, that was when I sat up on the bed, I was like, okay, this is getting very serious now. So it was, I never knew I would one day read in a book and see, especially like from an African writer, see someone that would just express the feelings you could feel. Because sometimes when you try to explain to someone where your mind goes when you're depressed, it's very difficult to not sound insane, because like you might sound, it just doesn't match reality. And then to read it, especially having like gone through this at some time in the past, and then I read this on paper, I was like, oh my God, this was exactly how I was feeling. And like the next chapter was literally another phase of my life that it just happened. You see, there was one particular place where she blotted out, oh my God, they have warm water here. And I tell you, this exact thing happened like probably months ago, but still it happened recently, because UNN is hell. UNN can be so, and you'll be thinking, oh, warm water is something everyone should have. But then as a student, I wake up very early, I go to school. So warm water was something I never really thought, oh, this was something I should be craving or I should think of having. It was just, I needed to save time. And then I went to a wonderful place, Greendale, and they had warm water. And it wasn't like you had to boil water. It was just off, like from the tap. You could just get warm water straight up. And the way I was like, oh my God, I spent so long there. And that was when I realized how we've normalized this idea of suffering in this country, and then things as normal as warm water now seems like luxury. So yeah, I think what really just hit me was how clearly these authors were able to describe 2 major phases of my life down to like the very little details. It was wonderful.
Thank you so much, Jennifer. I just want to read a line that resonated with me the most from this book, because this is me like being slightly vulnerable, but it's something that I have often struggled with. You didn't tell me. I have a problem. The problem of not speaking. Intentionally measuring the truth to protect the feelings of others. Or maybe I am just scared of criticism, so I omit information at will. I am used to the independence of answering to myself, and when this problem began to manifest in my relationships, I began to struggle. Simple omissions had enormous effects that lasted for days. Simple things can have a ripple effect. A small lie, a withheld truth. These can grow into something much bigger. But really, can people withstand the truth? Can we deal with the backlash of their criticism? Then, in relationships, honesty is the foundation. Without it, everything else can crumble. And then the part that I held on to the most was, in recent times, I have intentionally started taking my honesty journey seriously. This year, I remember clearly writing down that I was going to be more honest with people. Not even more honest, I was going to be honest with people. Now, I was not going to tell white lies. I was not going to omit it. I felt so seen by this specific. I don't know if this book was God ministering to me or something, but I felt so seen, because whenever I say to people, oh, I struggle with lying, they will think that I'm a psychological liar. But that's not the kind of lying I struggle with. It's the thing where you cannot just tell somebody a certain thing, so you rather just protect their feelings. When I read this, God, I felt so seen. Jennifer, let's hear you.
Hi, I was actually just typing what I was sitting on the chat box, because I just started to comment to what you were saying. That is true. You see this particular phase where, because at a point I had to talk to someone, basically she's a mini therapist. I had to talk to her, and I was like, wait, am I dishonest? Because I'm into politics. I was into politics throughout my time in union. And then someone called me a politician in final year. And I started to question my entire life. I was like, wait, am I dishonest? Because I've trained myself to always speak in a way that I do not offend people. And lots of times, a lot of things goes through my head. If I filter a lot. And then when the writer said they can't, would they be able to handle the truth? Would they be able to handle all everything raw from my head? The truth is, many people probably can't. So yeah, it's actually something I also have been trying to work on, to be being more honest and just saying things the way it is in my head. And let's see who will stay friends with me and who would leave. So yeah, it was just something that really hit me, what you said.
Yeah, me too. Barnabas, we can hear you. Oh my God, Barnabas and Jennifer are not the only people. Now you guys should share your opinions. We saw your opinions on the group.
Thank you. I think when I read that particular story, I was very vulnerable. And I think that was the night I sent you a message, Mukut, about something that went on between us personally, years ago. You remember, yeah? That was the night. It was after I read that book, and I felt I was not honest with you on certain levels about things. And I nursed that hurt for years. And that's why I said that book just hugs you in places that you did not know you needed a hug. And then I saw a line in the book that says it helps you heal in places you did not know was broken. So after I read that part about being honest and not being sincere with people, I remember that incident between us years ago. And I just felt bad that I did not mention it to you at that time. So that's why I came to your DM that time and told you that I don't think I probably healed or moved on from that hurt, and this is why, because I didn't tell you. And after I did that, I felt like an elephant just took off one of its feet from my chest. There was this kind of lightheartedness I now sense after I told you that everything I said, and it made me even value books more. I love stories. I love how they can make you heal, how you can feel seen by just reading another person's story. This person knows what it means to be human, to feel, to be hurt, to be body shamed, to stuff like that. It was so much, honestly speaking. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Nabas. Okay. The next essay, Ode to a Feeling, Warmth. I quite enjoyed it. I enjoyed it very much. I enjoyed how he talked about like feeling, and how feeling is like how touch and feeling is, I don't know, unsaid words and just like simple, I don't know how to explain, but simple reaches of things are like shape the trajectory of your life. Especially where I feel I really felt where he talked about like the part where he said he's you guys, please, I felt many things. I don't know. I think I can count the number of times I've said feelings. So now we are going to like go through, and everybody's going to speak. And I'm going to start with Olivia. So basically, just like in a nutshell, just like tell us what you felt, because I feel like that's like the major thing with this book.
Thank you so much, Mokut. I'm Olivia. Okay. I don't know why I laughed, but I just knew you were going to call me first. Okay, so for me, I don't know, but the book, I didn't really resonate with the book. And even during the reader's rave, when everybody was talking about how they felt and all, I wasn't like feeling it, and that was why I didn't even put my comments there. But I think this is the reason why a review is always important, because you get to see like people's opinions, actually get to, you get to understand people's opinion, even when you did not really. For me, the writer's style, I didn't really like it. I don't know, it was just not it for me. So I guess that was why maybe I didn't read the book with much interest. I don't know what happened, but it wasn't really so much. But then I wanted to say something. I think I understood the guy who wanted to commit suicide. It was, I felt his pain, but at the same time, I didn't really understand why. Because the story, I don't think the story told us why, because it was being told from a third person angle. So that's actually like the only story I found interesting in all the stories. So yeah, basically, really, I don't have much to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Olivia. Jennifer.
Okay, this is not like my full review of this chapter. I just want to like point out something Olivia said. I never knew it to be this painful. I guess that was how some of you felt last week when we were reviewing another kind of boy. But I used to agree to disagree. But there was something I wanted to point out, which is like the idea of searching for a why when someone talks about depression or suicide. Most times there isn't a definite why. There are triggers. There are definitely clear triggers. Some triggers may not even be so clear. Like, there are things that just trigger that, and you just start thinking, oh, why am I even on this earth? Why is life this hard? But there isn't a definite why. Like, today I could be depressed because of my project is not working out, but that is not why. If this is hypothetically speaking, or if I start, maybe I have suicidal thoughts now because of my project. The project triggered it. It wasn't necessarily I'm having suicidal thoughts because of my project. There are probably a lot of things that just been piling up. The project was what triggered it and inside. So it still makes a lot of sense that there wasn't a why, because most times there isn't a definite why. It's just a long line of whys. So there are triggers, sure, but I don't think there are definite whys. Why someone is depressed, why someone wants to commit suicide or things like that.
Oh, yeah, Olivia, you can go. Olivia.
Yeah, sorry, I was trying to turn on my mic. Okay, I wanted to say something in relation to what Jennifer said. It's not like I expected it. I'm just like trying to say probably why I didn't resonate with the book much, and that was actually the only story that caught my attention. Because I don't know, it's not like I think I would say I've been depressed once, maybe not once, but let me just say once. And that time it was, I knew why it happened. It started with something started it, and then along the line it became full blown because of something else. So it was like a trigger. I was still trying to suppress it, trying to be okay, and then something else came, and then I was triggered. And was full blown. So, but in this case, like, I'm just saying, like, probably I would have understood the story more if only I could read his perspective. But yeah, like you said, there is always not really a why. It's just an accumulation of otherwise, and I guess that's just why I didn't resonate with the book, because even the only story I felt drawn to based on past experience, I didn't hear the main person who was involved in the feeling talk about why he felt that way or what exactly were his own thoughts. Just his thoughts, basically, not even why. I wanted to hear his own thoughts. So yeah, that's just it.
Thank you, Olivia. You just took words out of my mouth, because I was about to talk about the girl whose brother tried to commit suicide, and I genuinely feel like he was reaching out for help and unlocking his door. That's how I felt. Like, it was a very clear sign of, I don't necessarily want to die, I want help. And often people who are depressed, like the author of There Are Cathedrals said, is they don't necessarily have like a reason. It's just like, I don't know how to explain it. I do know that I have a friend who struggles with schizophrenia, and because she struggles with schizophrenia, it has bubbled up into a whole thing where she gained a lot of weight from her drugs. She's struggling with her mind. She's struggling to keep up appearances. She's struggling so much. And it's like she would crack. But like in all of this, she still like pulls out, comes out, and shows up, and like those kind of things really scare me. Like whenever and I often feel people are too harsh with people who often commit suicide. Like that's like, I don't know, that really brought into perspective why we should not be very harsh and judgmental against people who commit suicide, because those struggles are hard, very difficult. Anyways, I just want to talk about the warmest story in this book, the one with the woman and her doting husband. Let me not lie, I was scared that when she was trying to call her husband, he probably died. I don't know. I don't know why I felt that way. I felt that he either was in an accident or he was cheating on her. And please, you guys tell me I'm not the only one that felt that way. Barnabas.
Okay, I think what the author was doing was very intentional. They will make you predict a certain kind of fear and then just go the other way. Even when she was driving and it was raining, I was already predicting, okay, she might have an accident. And then she was pulled over by somebody who was dressed in black. I was thinking, okay, that's an armed robber. They will now find out it was a policeman. Then when she was now driving, the car started going very slow. I thought, okay, an accident will happen. They will now find out that she was able to reach home. And then when she entered home, she saw somebody, a figure in front. And when now scared, okay, something has gone wrong. Then we now found out it was her husband. I was like, stop playing with me. If you want to be evil, be evil. If you want to bend this story, bend it to the other side. Stop playing with my emotions. Because at every point, as though he's baiting you to imagine something. But and I think it was intentional. He just wants to let you know that the mind can fathom anything. I believe that's what he wanted to achieve, because it was just so intentional. He will paint a picture to make you think something bad will happen, and then it just turns out good. Keeps turning out good, keeps on out good. And then you now realize that your own mind is spoiled, because your mind kept thinking bad things will happen. Do you understand? Meanwhile, it's just a normal day in a normal woman's life who is trying to drive home, but her car is bad. So that's my thoughts on it.
Olivia, see, Jennifer, my mind went far. Like, I was gone. I was so scared. Olivia, you can go now.
You know, like, that story was just somehow, like Naba said, like what Naba said is exactly what I wanted to say. But when I finished the story, I was like, what's the point of this story now? So since it's going to end normally, like, what is the point? Why did you put me through all this, all this emotional trauma? Because really, I thought she was going to either have an accident or the policeman was, you know that point where she was pulled over by the police. Like, the first thing that came to my head was that other book we read whereby the guy was pulled over by a policeman at night and eventually his body was found the next day. That was the first thing that came to my mind, and I thought that was what was going to happen to her. And then the talk of the whole rain, I thought she was just going to crash somewhere and die, the husband is dead or something. And the figure she saw at the gate, I thought the man just came to give her bad news that the husband is dead or something, or is arrested, just something like that. And really, it was so annoying. It was a little bit annoying. Like, I was like, why? What's the point? So, yeah.
Thank you, Olivia. Jennifer.
Oh my god, it was how the author really just he turned all of us into like detectives, because I think I'm an overthinker and I love all this suspense thriller, crime thriller. I love everything. So by the time, like from the beginning of the movie, I was like, of the story, I was like, oh, I have to take note of the time. So I went back and started over, because at the point I realized, oh, this is probably going to end badly. So I need to figure out how to end before it ends. So I went back and started over. I took note of the date and the time. And I was reading, I was taking note of every detail, and my mind was like, it was conjuring up so many different ways this could end. It was really it was a nice torture. It was a welcome torture, because it was hard, but at the same time, I would gladly read such a story over again. So my mind went to different places. Every ending was bad, every ending was dramatic, but I was very happy the way it ended. I mean, sometimes we just need like a warm hug instead of something dramatic. So I was still happy with the ending the author gave.
Yeah, Barnabas.
I was happy with the ending, because I was like, thank God. Like, somehow, I think because I've been reading a lot of sad stories, I expected to end sadly. But for the first time in a long while, I was grateful the story did not go bad. I was like, when I read it and they're like, okay, there was nothing spectacular. And I was happy that there was nothing spectacular. This was just a normal life. And like I said, every story just reminds you about the theme of the book. The author is trying to show you the value in the mundane things, like how greatly significant the mundane things seem. And I really love the story. I love the ending. I love that it did not have a sad ending.
Thank you so much, Navas. Okay, so I feel like this may be the last topic we'll take for today, but I do not know how this guy went to school and started teaching children and like fell in love with teaching. Will never. I don't even know. I hated every moment of me teaching. Those children tried to murder me. And you know the worst part of this whole thing? I was teaching students who were like just two from the school I graduated from. So like I was familiar with these children, and I still hated teaching them. I can never be me. And he also reminded me that when I was in nursery 2, I had a classmate who he had a nerve problem. Chika he couldn't like write, he couldn't speak, he used to speak. I can't imagine being like I would be pissed, very angry. I don't know how he was convinced to be a teacher. Anyways, the first hand that went up was Jennifer's hand, but she spoke last. So Olivia, let's hear from you.
You see that teacher guy, right? I don't even understand his story. That's first of all. And then secondly, like the way they made, I don't know, but I think patience is just virtue. Just and when you have the ability to be patient. And what I was trying to understand in his story is how it is that I, as a person, will be able to love people so much and be patient to be able to a point that I teach students who obviously annoy you, but you're still very grateful for the job you're doing. I currently teach, okay, and I can tell you how annoying my students are. Like, today I was even thinking about it, and I was like, I'll start praying for these kids, because I really need to pray for them. I need to pray so that when I'm coming to class, they are willing to learn, and whatever I teach them, they understand. You get, like, that's the approach I feel like I want to use, because it's not by my power nor by my might. I can't just tell you I love doing what I'm doing when I know that these children obviously are annoying the hell out of me. So, like, and then the point where he eventually had to come to a realization that boy was autistic, and he had to change the way he treats him. Like, it was actually heartwarming. I think that's the thing I can say I liked about the book. But like, portraying the whole teaching and everything as a normal thing that anybody would love to do, irrespective of all the challenges you face. I don't know. I don't really agree with that. But the point where he came to understand that people are different, people need to be treated differently. Like, I was having this conversation with my friend one time. She said that she can never, ever, ever tolerate an autistic person. And I'm like, it's not their fault, first of all. It's not, there's nothing they can do about the DNA they have. It's just a default. And you just have to learn how to be patient. You just have to ask God to help you, treat this person the right way, or just help you with patience, or whatever virtue you need to cultivate in order to be able to relate with this person. So that is the point of the book where I think I liked the fact that he understood it. At some point he had to understand it, and then he began to practice it. And yes, it didn't make sense to the other kids, but but on a general note, I don't see anything interesting in that teaching job, especially the fact that the kids were really, really annoying. Thanks. Thank you.
Thank you, Olivia. So I just want to say the thing you said with understanding and being and like slowing down. I have a cousin who is 26 and he has Down syndrome. So basically, he's a child, and it's like conversing with him. I often have to tell myself that, oh my God, it's not his fault that he has Down syndrome. Oh my God, life could have been better for him, because he pushes me to the extreme of extremes. Like, why are you so annoying, bro? And this is just one person who is literally my cousin, who we are in the same environment with. Talkers of like having to deal with this with a couple of other normal children. Like, all right, Jennifer, let's hear from you.
I really said this book. Really like something. But it's just
Jennifer, your network is breaking. Like, it's breaking really badly. Barnabas, I think she has logged out. Could you speak?
Okay, thank you, Mufit. So I like I don't have someone hear me and say I like every story. Yeah, actually, I like every story in the book, even the last one, and particularly because I have always loved teaching people, but I've never thought about teaching people in kindergarten and people in nursery school. I've always imagined myself teaching secondary school, those in secondary school and the teenagers, stuff like that. But this book now made me realize that the teenagers will eventually teach. It matters who is teaching them as children, as kids that they are. Do you understand? Like the boy who is autistic. Imagine he did not notice, the teacher didn't notice on time and starts beating him. He will grow up to be that difficult teenager that you eventually teach. And then you also transfer the hate and aggression towards him. So I feel at every position where we find ourselves, because he initially did not want to be a teacher. He wanted to study law. But he made the most out of it. Do you understand? I feel that's what we should learn. Not just looking at the story like, oh, I don't think I ever want to be a teacher. He made the most of where he was. And at the end, he realized that this is what he has always wanted to do. But just didn't realize it anymore. But just didn't, like, he didn't want to pursue law anymore. And I like his patience. I like the fact that he was observant. And at the point where he started calling the children, my children, when he started talking about them to his family at home. So, oh, my kids. And that point always brought me to tears. Like, he had owned them as though they were his. Do you understand? And he even made a comment where if one of his brothers would want to make fun of the kids, he would somewhat defend them, something like that. And that was really beautiful. And I think my take home from this is that, personally for me, that's why I look forward to NYSC, because I want to teach children in secondary school. But I've also realized, because of this story, that the children I will teach in secondary school were also once in kindergarten, they were nursery. And it also matters who is teaching them at that level, who is being patient with them, who is teaching them how to love, who is teaching them how to learn as well. And this story brings that to mind. So yeah, thank you, Mokut.
Thanks so much, Barnabas. Jennifer.
Okay, can you guys hear me clearly now?
Yeah, we can.
Okay, thank God. So this story was very strangely personal, because as I said, I just finished, and I did not want to go back to Lagos. I really did not want to go back to Lagos. So when I got a job to teach physics at a secondary school, I jumped on it. And then my parents were against it. And so I had to start my life in Enugu on my own. And it has been very traumatic. And then I resumed there this April. And I met the girls I'm supposed to be teaching. And these girls are very rude. And at that point, I was like, oh my God, I really don't like kids. I thought I used to like teaching because I used to tutor my classmates. But no, I do not like kids. They are very rude. So I've been going through this whole phase of, should I just leave? And my dad has been like, just resign and come back, no problem. But I also feel like I don't want to feel like this. So I've been like, okay, let me just pray about this. That's why I really loved what Olivia said about it. It's not by might, it's really just God. And that's really we don't understand how spiritual teaching can become, because you're literally grooming someone, you're literally helping someone. I think back to my secondary school days, and this 2 weeks I've been at this school, I've just been saying, oh my God, my teachers were amazing. I feel so bad I did not appreciate them as much as I should have. So yeah, it really just gave me extra motivation that, you know what, your kids can't be half as bad as this guy's kids. So that gave me some motivation. And then what's going to worse, I'll just pray every day, just pray. And when I'm praying for my personal side, I just pray for this girl too, because there was a scene I witnessed one day and I felt so heartbroken. It was literally this girl bullying someone else, and it was so silly because the girl she was bullying was far prettier than her, and I feel like that was probably what caused the whole inferiority complex, and she was bullying her. And as a teacher, I was just speak up, but I knew if I put myself in this kid's shoes, saying something at that point and telling them, it would have probably not been the best approach. And so it was just, this process really has just been very, it has just been very, I guess, reflective. I've been reflecting on myself and realizing that, I was once these kids. How can I help them now that I know better? And they are still little silly kids. How can I help them? And it's really just God that will help me, really, because I've seen a lot in just a few weeks. So it was a very lovely story for me.
Thank you very much, Jennifer. I just want to say that I don't know if I was ever, I don't even know, but girls in secondary school are very, the hormones, I don't know what it does, it just peaks and it just becomes something else. And God is your strength. God will give you strength. God will soften their heart. They will not be Pharaoh anymore. Please, really hang in there. All right, for the last story, I think I really enjoyed it after the turbulence of all the other ACs leading up to this one, where this girl just sat and led us through quiet. My mind was quiet. I don't know about you guys, but my mind was very, very quiet. Reading the whole essay, it just felt you had to savor everything that she was saying, from the beginning to the end of the whole essay, talking about life, proof of existence, growth, laughter, and it was in such a quiet way. I could feel the space she was talking about. Honestly, I have to give it to all the authors because they are very good. They are very, very good. They took their time to enable us to renegade all this. I don't know how to explain it, but I could literally be I was the book. I was the book. That's how I felt, especially for this particular story. It was very calming. So yeah, I don't know. Does anyone have anything to say as we're about to wrap up? Jennifer, is your heart still up? As per you want to talk?
Yes, but I am still trying to, what's that word, gather my thoughts so someone else can speak before me.
Okay, Taylor, I noticed that your hands were raised before. I don't know if you wanted to share something.
Thank you for the opportunity, Taylor.
just like you said, I would really love to read the work of these authors, like not short stories now, not a collection of short stories. I would love to read a book by each of them, because every single one of them is absolutely brilliant. The writing style, the choice of words, I loved every bit of it. I think you're referring to the static story, right? Or the one about rest in the bottom layer. It was so cozy, like you were by a still stream, and you were just staring into space at the vastness of the stream with flowers behind you. It was chill. I feel like it was a good summary of all that had been written. Of all that had been written and all I've been reading. It was just beautiful. The whole about life, about appreciating, about being in the moments, being present, waiting to smell the roses. Everything was so lovely. I loved each and every one of these authors. Each and every one of them, I loved them so much. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Taylor and Olivia.
Okay, thank you. I think for me, generally, like I already mentioned, the emotional part attachment was not there for me in the book. But hearing your opinions, like I'm actually reflecting and I understand that yes, the author was actually trying to pass a message. And I think this comes from the fact that, it's just a thing for me that whenever I experience something and I leave that space, even if someone talks about it, like somehow I find it hard to like bring back those emotions. So I think that's why. But then generally, stories were not so everything I wanted it to be, but at the same time, I think they had direction, but could be better. Maybe I'm speaking differently from what everybody else thinks, but then yeah, some of the stories were nice. The story that talked about hugs, the story about suicide. Like I feel like this would do better if we had a more in-depth story. So if these authors, like I don't know, but I think it would be nice if these authors can take these stories individually and like make it a little bit, expand it a little bit more if that's possible. So yeah, that's what I wanted to say. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Olivia and Jennifer.
Okay. I just read one comment in the chat box and I was just laughing so much. So yeah, I think this book made me realize how much I love abstract art. Like I love abstract art. I love open-ended stories. I love when there's that freedom to think along with the creator, be creative with them, try to imagine, what was this person trying to pass across. I feel very comfortable in that space. So I think that was a major reason why I did not have a problem with so many of the stories. And the stories that had like a close, clean ending were done beautifully, or the stories that had open endings were like, they also done beautifully well. So I just found this book to be, it was more of like an artwork to just see and less of like a book. I guess novels still could be artworks, but it was beautiful. That was in summary of my experience. It was just beautiful.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you everyone who spoke up today. Thank you for those of you that didn't speak up today, but you people ticked that you finished reading the book. I have the biggest side eye right now. Anyways, thanks guys. We are wrapping up today and we will see you again on Sunday. Thank you very much. I love the book so much. I enjoyed it. I'll probably read it again this night because it felt really good. It felt like a warm hug, actually. Like I can see how it feels like that. Thanks, guys. All right, good night. Bye.
Don't forget to hit the follow button and tap on the notification icon to stay updated. That's all for today's episode. To join our book club or stay updated on future discussions, follow us on Instagram and X at Jollof Book Club, Jollof with a double F. And thank you so much for listening.